connect women. I'm clapping because I have some of my favorite people here today. Um, and I just reminded myself of Eddie Murphy. Hercules, Hercules. Anywho, went back in time. I am here to talk about CareerCon, but most importantly, pardon my 4-pound dog, most importantly, I am here with 2 HR experts to talk about ageism in the workplace. Like, what do you do when age is on the application? What in the world do you do? Let's see. We're talking about, oh, there goes our, pardon me, my dog. I hope you all can't hear my dog. We're talking about CareerCon and all the things that you can find at this wonderful event happening very soon. And I'm really thrilled to have these 2 folks. So I'm going to bring on, by the way, CareerCon is happening next weekend. Let me go back and tell you that. Next weekend, February 4th and 5th, we have all sorts of things lined up for you. Master classes, workshops, panels, fireside chats. We have an author flying in from Washington, D.C., who is here to talk about workplace, the workplace and the future of the workplace. Carrie Hannon is the author of In Control at 50 Plus. She will be here live. We're actually doing a book signing at Tara office at 9th and Colorado, right here in Denver, Colorado, on Friday the 3rd. You've got to be there. It's going to be fun. So here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring on our experts, and we're going to talk a little bit about their panel and what they do, and we're going to take your questions. Here we go. We've got Meg and Joe.
Hi.
And Brian. Hello, you guys. How are you today?
So good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Brian and I, behind the scenes, we're playing catch up. And so, listen, I'm so happy. You know, anytime that I can have you 2 humans in a room, it just makes my day. It makes my day.
I feel the same.
I mean, you all always come with not just 1 nugget, but a million nuggets. I remember the first career event, which originally was called Career Camp. And I remember you 2 talking about breaking the algorithm with LinkedIn, and you provided some really valid information. What's one of the things that you would recommend a seasoned employee to do if they are just about to start their career search?
I think that the number one thing that you should do is take a look at your LinkedIn profile, log in, and look for people who have a LinkedIn profile with a title of the new role that you're searching for. So if you're going to embark on this new adventure, go and find the people who are doing that and figure out what their profile looks like and what kinds of things can you glean from there and copy from there and reuse from there. There's no sense in reinventing the wheel. Find people who are crushing it and go do what they're doing. So update your LinkedIn profile picture. You want it to be professional. You want it to be polished. You want to feel confident. Update your summary, and then work with a really, really talented resume writer and get your resume updated and attach it to your LinkedIn profile. Those are the first things that I would do.
Oh, that's a good idea. And you know what's interesting is I find it, and I highly recommend to anyone, even if you're a business owner and you're going through imposter syndrome and you don't think you're doing enough for your community or you're lacking confidence, one of the biggest boosters, in my opinion, is doing exactly that exercise, is going through and refreshing, even if you're not applying for a job, honestly, refreshing your resume and and your LinkedIn profile, highlighting all the wonderful things you've done. Man, if you want to pick me up, go straight to your own personal profile on LinkedIn. Brian, what would you say?
Well,
she covered a lot, I know.
It's hard to follow that up.
I know.
One little thing I would say, I just realized in the last couple of weeks that LinkedIn has this really cool download resume function where it creates an ATS-enabled resume. Therefore, it doesn't get caught up in the ATS as it's using particular formatting, using Microsoft, or you're using a PDF or whatever that might be. I did not know about that little feature, and I just learned about it. So I am actually using my LinkedIn ATS formatted download resume for any applications that I want to send formally through an ATS. In addition to
Okay.
my glamour resume, that's kind of the Goldilocks one that I've worked for Career Right.
That is such a good nugget of information. I don't think many of us knew that. That's a great way. So you say by doing that and exporting your, are we talking about exporting your LinkedIn as your resume, and or
So there are two ways. You can
okay,
actually download your profile, right, which is really great. And that's one way to do it. But if you actually go in, there's another way where you can actually build out the resume based on LinkedIn, which is really awesome. And that's the ATS enabled one.
okay, and I love Lori Richmond's comment here, and I actually had the same question, and I have more than a few to recommend. Curious as to why you, Megan, said you would recommend hiring a resume writer versus doing it ourselves and
Well,
Googling it.
I think that number one, as women, it's really, really hard to tout our accomplishments. And somebody else is absolutely positively going to be able to say things about us that we might be trepidatious in saying, right? And so I don't do my own resume, and I'm a professional resume writer. And I have paid somebody to do my resume, to review my resume, to review the vernacular of my resume, only because I will always have biases about myself. I will always have insecurities about myself. And somebody else isn't going to have those. And so it's funny because somebody comes to me and they say, zhuzh up my resume, and I can do it, no problem. But when I start to look at my own and that imposter syndrome creeps in, right? And I'm
Oh,
like, can I
yes.
really do that? It's also a really good idea to have a fresh set of eyes on anything, right? Once you've been
Yeah.
writing a document for the last 20 years, there will be things that you will see that your eyes will start to glaze over, and it will be grammar, punctuation, vernacular that's outdated, right? But your brain is just skimming over it. And so there's a reason that hairstylists go to other hairstylists instead of doing their own hair,
Oh my
right?
goodness. Yes. Okay. And you know what I love is that you talked about the vernacular. Carrie Hannon just the other week, who I was saying at the top of this session is going to be flying in, and she's a workplace futurist, and she talked about relevancy and the important, and that is about relevancy. So staying relevant even in especially if you're switching careers entirely or moving over to an entirely different company, you're right, learning their language.
Well, and I think that we get really caught up in ourselves for pride or whatever. So maybe I'm doing my resume and I really want to put my entire 20-year career on my resume because I worked really freaking hard and I want everybody to know about that. Somebody else who doesn't have an emotional trauma bond to that experience is going to come in and say, you don't need all of this experience. It's aging you. It's not relevant
Oh, wow.
anymore. It's not relevant anymore.
Yeah.
10 years, cap it off, take it out, because they don't have an emotional connection to that. So I always think and it doesn't necessarily have to be a paid professional resume writer. That's your best route, right? But
Yeah.
have a friend or a colleague or somebody in the industry that you want to get into, have somebody else review your.
Look at it. Wow. Okay, that's a great idea. I get it. You're right. We get in our own way. I have a question too about the recommendations. Brian, what do you say about the recommendation? Should someone right now, once we're done here, immediately get on the line with past clients, past managers, people they've worked with, coworkers, to get them to write a resume on LinkedIn? And do you too look at those?
Well, let me jump in first. Use the idea of a LinkedIn recommendation as a careful, thoughtful touch point.
Okay.
Do not just go on and send the email out to everyone. Actually think about what you want that person to say. I'm actually behind on multiple recommendations. I need to work on them this afternoon. I have a few friends I've reached out. And what I did for them is I said, you know what? if you could just give me a couple bullet points of some things. It's been a while, and I want to make sure I highlight the specific thing you need, and then I will incorporate it into my recommendation. And that's really important. So I have a couple right now that I'm working on for other people, and I've reached out to say, hey, how does this look before I post this? Am I hitting all the right spots? Now, that's A. B, if you're going to go back to clients or customers or former colleagues, really, really be thoughtful about how you do it. Because sometimes it's your one shot to kind of reintroduce yourself. And the recommendation can be a great way to do it. And let's make sure that we also give back. So if you're going to, ask for one, already have one prepared for someone else. And really make sure that there's a symbiotic relationship there. Now,
All right. I love that.
Megan
Go
Joe
ahead.
might have a different opinion about this, which I hope, because I love the opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I like recommendations, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
It's always your best foot forward, and it's really great and fun, but I'm going to learn more about you in the first 10 minutes of an interview if you can do the job, or you have the personality that I need for the role. That's going to mean more to me than how many recommendations you have. But you should have them as a kudos board. It's a good thing for you when you're having a real bad day. Go to your recommendations and read them, and then you'll, kind of pump yourself up a little bit. So I don't know. I think it really could depend on why people are looking at your recommendations or what the purpose would be for you to actually do that. So I don't know. MJ?
Yeah.
So this actually makes me really happy because I'm going to school you guys on what happens on the back end of the recruiting process.
We're breaking the what do you call it? The what is it? Algorithm. Go for it.
Companies no longer do reference checks because they don't get an ROI out of them. They don't get an ROI out of them because anybody can ask anybody to give them a reference, right?
That's why we do it, right? That's why we do it, is to get glowing remarks.
Right. I don't know if I'm speaking to your previous boss or if this is your roommate, Bob, who you're sitting right next to, right? Like, I don't know that. And so organizations no longer do reference checks. And so sometimes if a hiring panel is on the fence about a candidate and they're like, I just don't know. Sometimes we can say, let's look and see what other people have to say about this person the same way that people used to use reference checks. So I'm going to pull up your LinkedIn profile, and typically where there's smoke, there's fire, right? And so if you have 5 of your old bosses who I can now validate that they are who they say they are, they really worked at that place, they were really your boss, write glowing reviews with common themes or common threads of things, then that's going to tell me that those 5 bosses are probably not lying, right?
Got it.
If I'm looking to see if somebody has the ability to partner cross-functionally with other teams, I'm going to look at your LinkedIn recommendations and see if you have people from other departments who are writing recommendations about what it's like to work with you. And if there are 5 people, 5 developers, 5 product managers, 5 project managers who are in different cross-functional departments that say things about you with common thread, all of those people can't be lying, right?
Okay, yes.
And so oftentimes, if a hiring manager says, I just wish that I could find a backdoor reference, or I wish I could talk to somebody who knew this person, well, let's go look and see what these 50 people who know this person said about them.
Oh.
And there are a lot of times when that can be the difference between a hiring manager being on the fence and making an offer.
So that was very insightful. And when you said hiring manager, by the way, I think a lot of us also get confused as to hiring manager, recruiter, the DE&I person. Who is, when someone is looking for a job and they're on LinkedIn or they're on Andrew Hudson's job list or wherever it is, wherever you are in the world, what should they be looking for? Wait, I forgot my question. I completely just out of
I didn't
blank.
understand your question.
I know. Oh my gosh, I completely drew a blank when it came to, oh, I had a point. Pardon me. All right, I'm sure I'll come back to it. Let me ask another question about your resume and cover letter. Let's go back to that. Should we be also including a little extra stuff like a portfolio, like a PDF that has, if it's a content marketing position? So maybe this person says, I want to get an extra foot in the door, so I'm going to create a pretty Canva presentation, turn it into a PDF, and attach that to the resume. What do you think about that? Should people go the extra mile to get their foot in the door to do those kinds of things if they have the ability to submit maybe directly to someone?
You want me to take this? I always preach quality over quantity. So I think that you should find a handful of jobs that you are seriously interested in and prepare those extra things. And then find people on LinkedIn who work for that company, who are recruiters of that company, who are hiring managers of that company, and send them that information. You should take a long time to apply for 5 jobs than to apply for 1,000 jobs where your resume is generic, watered down, unspecific, unfancy. Quality over quantity all the time.
Okay. Brian, do you have anything to say to that? And you know what's interesting? I love that you're actually on the market. You're not ready to look, but you're one of the folks that we're talking to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What would you do? You're in the market.
Well, I haven't had to apply for a job because
You're not ready yet. You're excited.
Opportunities come to me already, but the reason opportunities are coming to me is because I've called that, right? I have a strong LinkedIn. I do the networking both digitally and also in the flesh. And so I think that has a lot to do with it. I did a really poignant, open to work post on LinkedIn after I raised my hand to lay myself off after I laid off 40 people. And it has just been a humbling experience. I've had over 220 likes on it. It's been reposted 20 times, 60 comments, and I have like 7 job things happening. I haven't even applied to one yet.
Wow, wow. Okay.
Now let's step back a little bit. There are a couple of jobs I am interested in, and I'm going to try to change sectors. And in order for me to do that, if I want to leave software, right, and go into something completely different, I've got to have a very compelling first 3 sentences of my cover letter or my email or whatever it is.
He knows how to do it. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, so at the very top, have a compelling message about who you are.
Get their attention and then follow up with bullets to the different pieces of how you're going to speak to the job description, right? And what you can do 30, 60, 90 in the ground running. And, there are a million ways you can do a cover letter. I always say the best cover letter is done. Because if you stare at that damn thing for days and days and then go to send it and the job posting is expired, that has happened to all of us.
No, oh my goodness.
So the best cover letter is done. I kind of joke.
Yeah.
Actually, as long as you have all of your P's and Q's in order, you should really be good at that. But again, I do 3 bullet points for my cover letters. It's a really easy formula. I stole it from someone. It's not even my idea. It's like what people do. And I look at, for an HRBP role, what are the 3 HR discipline focus areas that I, as an HR practitioner, can bring to that job in the areas that it needs, and how do I refer that to the resume? That's how I do my cover letters. More importantly,
see, that's quality over quantity. He can't do that to 1,000.
Right. And the best part of the cover letter is it is my interview prep tool, because sometimes I forget, and then all of a sudden
it's your interview what, Brian?
My interview prep tool, because I have already have my talking points, my
Okay.
discipline focus areas, what
Yeah.
I bring to the table, and it might be a while since I've seen it. So if I look at the job description, read my cover letter, I can jump into an interview and hit the ground running.
So, all right, let's go back really quick because, and by the way, again, lots of golden nuggets. I hope everyone, Karen, I love that Karen and Lori are on, and other folks love what you just said is to have your talking points basically as part of your cover letter and have your talking points separate from that, I'm guessing, with numbers and metrics. Okay, so Karen has, going back to the reference, what happens when someone does want your reference?
So if somebody wants my references,
Yeah.
I have really good references. But those people are undoubtedly people that have also written me a recommendation on LinkedIn. And typically what I will do when I am submitting references is I will say, this is this person's contact information. Here's a link to their LinkedIn recommendation of me so that you can verify that the contact information that I am giving you for this person is really this person. And I think that is noticed by other recruiting firms.
MJ, I have one quick thing. One thing I've really liked, and tell me if I'm wrong in this, is sometimes when I do references, which is rare if they ask, but if they do it, I will put like mostly managers or cross-functional stakeholders because I do a lot of stakeholder management in my roles. But what I will also put is a couple bullets behind the person's contact info saying, this is what they can speak to that's directly to the role.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Then I
Okay.
prep my references and send another document to them saying, hey, Sarah's going to contact you from Sondermind, and she's going to ask you about these 3 things that I need to be able to prove that I can do in 30, 60, 90s, and you know I can do them, so here are my bullets. And then I just make sure that I have...
Make it easy for people.
Make it easy.
Make
I
it
love
easy
that.
with that.
Make it easy.
Yeah, and I've even gone so far as to see that people say, well, if you want a recommendation, this hasn't happened to me, but I've done this for other people. They have written the recommendation, and then I turned it into my own words, and then it gets published. I wonder how often does that happen?
More than you think.
I guess.
And here's the thing, I don't actually hate that, because if you can get 50 people to vouch for you,
Then you're not lying. Yeah, right.
right? And it
Right.
doesn't matter whose language or words or verbiage it's in. If you can get 50 people to vouch for you, I'm comfortable with that.
All right, let's talk about this question about being ghosted. This is one of the reasons why Second Act Women was started, is that I was ghosted, Lupe was ghosted, a lot of women are ghosted. I'm not sure if this is an ageism thing or just laziness. What is happening that people are going to interviews, at least getting 1 or 2, maybe even make it as far as 3 or 4 interviews and then ghosted? What? I know you all are on the other side of this. I can't imagine either of you doing this. Why? Is that just says that's not a company you want to work for, I'm suspecting.
Okay.
No? Go ahead. Give it. Let's hear it.
That is pure laziness. Those recruiters are terrible at their job, and you need to put them on blast. So a couple of things. The most powerful thing that you have at your disposal is a Glassdoor review. And Glassdoor will allow you to write a review for an interview process. And companies take that very, very seriously. If my boss gets a negative Glassdoor review for something that I did, you better believe I have a Slack in my inbox within 30 minutes, right? Companies take that really, really seriously. And I promise you that it's likely that the company doesn't know that that's happening. If the company does know that that's happening and they just don't care, you don't want to work there, because the way that a company treats its candidates is the number one indicator of the way a company is going to treat its employees. And so if they feel that candidates are disposable or unworthy of being notified, that's how they're going to be treating their employees, and you don't want to work there, so you might have dodged a bullet. Lori, for places who ghosted you, I genuinely would. I would go online, I would go to Glassdoor, and I would write a review about the interview process that says that. But please remember that on the flip side. So if you work with a really great recruiter or you have a really great candidate experience, if you got an offer or you didn't get an offer, you got an offer and you didn't accept it, if you have a good experience, Glassdoor is also the most powerful tool at your fingertips. Go on and write a raving review. So you might have dodged a bullet. You should let the company know. And those are definitely companies you don't want to work for.
Okay, now there's another question, and you know where I'm going to go with this one because you brought it to my attention, Megan, MJ, on Facebook. You sent me a PM about this. There was a company, and I would love to put them on blast, but I'm not. But the first name starts with Premier. Don't know where they're located in the world, but literally, and you shot me a screenshot. They had a question about where your age. Literally asking how old are you? How often is that happening? And is there a law in Colorado and other places where they're not allowed to ask those questions or what?
This is a question for Brian. I don't know.
Yeah, without stepping in it and without getting into the legalities of it, I don't believe it's against the law in an application to ask for someone's age. There are specific things that can be asked, like, are you a disabled veteran, for example?
Okay.
Do you have a specific disability or accommodation, right? Do you need visa sponsorship? And those questions can disqualify you based on certain things. So I don't want to get into the legalities of that. I know there are different, every state has different labor laws. I mean, it would be uncouth, right, for me to ask your age, or for me to ask you to disclose any type of identifying information to that. But, you know, we'll have to
What would you do? What do you tell that person? Suppose they really want to work for this company. Although I know where MJ and I go, and probably Brian as well, I wouldn't want to work for that company if they're asking me for my age, because that says something about them. But suppose they really want to work for this company. What do you put in that space? Do you put NA? Do you put 0? Like, what do you put?
You know, you could be tongue-in-cheek. You could just say, looking forward to discussing this in the interview.
Okay.
I mean, if you really want to work for this company, I wouldn't. You know, if you start disqualifying, we start getting down like this form. I'm like, I don't know. There's a lot of good.
Like if this is like I can't pay my mortgage versus I can't, right?
Yeah.
I like if you really want to make it a joke, and maybe that joke will get you in the interview. But I would say pass.
All right.
For me.
Yeah. How often are you all searching for people on LinkedIn, and are you searching through their open to hire button that is on a lot of the profile pictures? Are the
99.9% of the people that I hire are passive candidates that I found on LinkedIn.
Wow.
I don't necessarily search for like the open to work, but the algorithm for LinkedIn makes sure that those people are higher in the search string. So LinkedIn is my most powerful recruiting tool.
Okay. And Brian, you said you've been having a lot of success. Now, behind that open to work button comes the fact that your employers don't know that you have that button, right?
There's a safety net there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a safety net. Mm-hmm. So that's always good to know. Yeah, Brian.
Yeah, there's an iron curtain on that, so that's a really good safety feature. For me, actually, as we were just talking, I just got another in-mail from a recruiter who wants to talk to me. So you know what? You have to continue to interact with LinkedIn every damn day. Every day. Engage
with companies you want to work for. Write articles.
That's all I do right now.
Yeah, blog. Share posts, reshare posts. You're absolutely right. And I just want to say thank you. We're coming to a close. And I just want to say thank you to the two of you for giving of your time on a weekend where if you're a skier or you just head to the mountains for the fun of it, thank you for spending your time on that weekend in 2 weeks. I really appreciate you two. And
one of my favorite weekends of the year, every year.
Every year. There you go. I love it. And you can find these two. Brian is going to serve as the senior HR expert and moderator of the session. Get hired! Tips and tricks to land a job at 40 plus. This is a panel with not just MJ, but there are so many other people. Actually, all of CareerCon. We're talking Vail Resorts, our partners at Western Union, DocuSign, LinkedIn, AARP, and the list goes on. Modern Gen X women. These women are actually flying in from New York to be here to lead a session on help. I don't know what I want to do when I grow up, because we do hear that within Second Act Women. So I want to say thank you to these folks for joining us. You can find all the information about CareerCon at secondactwomen.com/CareerCon. And it is February 4th and 5th at the Commons on Champa, right here in Denver, and live on Zoom as well. So I want to say thank you, and I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you to Brian. You are the best, and we'll talk to you all later.